What's poppin', people? It's Dante, just waking up this morning, and I'm thinking today about snapshotting, and yeah, a little snapshot tip for using the Ricoh GR3. I have the Ricoh GR3X, and so I'm gonna photograph that construction site. There's beautiful fog, and I have the small JPEG file with high contrast black and white cranked to the max. I'm using P mode with snap focus at infinity, and I essentially just wanted to share this idea of photographing things, photographing people, places, buildings, whatever it may be. Right now I'm interested in the light itself and how you can tweak the exposure without having to rely on the aperture, the shutter, or even using the exposure valuation adjustment lever. So essentially, I have highlight weighted metering enabled, so I'm exposing for the highlights. And as you can see, when I point my camera at this beautiful glowing scene on the back of my LCD screen, the frame becomes quite dark and there's lots of shadow area, and the highlights are what is being picked up by the camera here, or the sensor rather. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust the direction of my camera to the shadow area looking down on the street. And I'm gonna half press and hold and lock my shutter in, and then look back at this beautiful scene of this construction site and the glow, press the shutter and make a photo. And so I can do this very quickly and rapidly by adjusting the exposure and making many pictures by half pressing, locking that in, clicking the shutter. Really simple idea. I think I've shared this on my channel during my trip in Rome as a way to expose on the streets with the highlight weighted metering, but this is a really great tip for anyone that's using the Ricoh GR3X or the Ricoh GR3 that's looking to make their pictures and their workflow much more simple. You know, I think if you're using a Ricoh specifically, I highly suggest giving this sort of snapshot approach a try. I highly suggest photographing with speed. I highly suggest trying horizontal, trying vertical, you know, moving the camera around, trying to adjust the exposure in different ways. Of course, right, I can look at this thing and just adjust the exposure evaluation like this, right, and just kind of play with it and like hit the lever and do it this way. But in terms of snapshotting, I actually appreciate the speed of locking in the exposure without the need of adjusting any of the levers. It really does speed up the process. Like when I'm on the streets and I'm using this technique, a lot of the times I'll be looking at a subject walking very rapidly and quickly in front of me, and instead of having to adjust the lever, what I'll do is I'll lock my exposure into the shadow area on the ground, on the sidewalk, hold that in, half press, look up, and then press the shutter. Really quick tip, I guess. Just figured I'd share it because as I was photographing this foggy scene, I just wanted to share the behind the scenes of it, and maybe this tip can help one other person that's looking to snapshot on the streets, or just snapshot wherever you may be, you know, in your everyday life. I find that snapshotting is my way forward and my favorable way to photograph. You know, even actually looking at these photographs that I made with the Ricoh GR2, you know, this one I made with the Ricoh GR2 in Baltimore, you know, I was just kind of snapshotting and playing and not really thinking too much about the composition. You know, I was photographing with speed. I was photographing very quickly and loosely at this scene, similar to this image of the scene on the rooftop. And, you know, these photos were made with the LCD screen. These photos were made with me sort of playing and snapshotting and not trying so hard. And so I think that maybe the snapshot is a great approach to make more spontaneous compositions, and I thought that this could help one other person in terms of exposure and how I see and how I photograph using this technique, right? Simply half press, right? So if I look this way, everything's dark, right? This is actually a way better way to explain it. Everything's completely black. But if I look down at the darkness, half press, then you can see the landscape, obviously, and you can make a photo. Watch. Goes dark, go down, pull it up, boom. So yeah, just a simple tip, something that I use every day, and yeah, give it a try and go out there and play. Cool. All right. back to my campfire.